Today's topic, turning points. I didn't know what to do for the next seminar because I've done so many topics, life topics. But so I just asked wisdom. And then one day the words just came turning points. Well, after I got those words, just two words, turning points, and I just know, like I know, just like with my book, Peace, Presence, and Power, it just came like that. And as did all the booklets, all just slotted into the chapters. I knew it wasn't me because it was beyond my capacity to do that. So interestingly enough, and I'm sharing sort of some of the bigger things as well as the little things because from the moment I got the topic turning points and those two words, I begin to observe myself. And you might do this as an exercise coming up the next week because it's fascinating. When you become aware, that means you're conscious and you're not unconscious, and you become present, which means you're not scattered, which means you're very powerful, particularly if you remain in the presence like a child, not childish, but child-like. Well, that week, I was aware of so many challenges that happen with relationships, um, all sorts of little things. And you will from here on in, if you're aware and you're present, where you have an opportunity to react or respond. You know, somebody says something and you get hurt or you get angry or they're rude or they're irritable or they're frustrated over nothing much. More often than not, it's their stuff. But however, you're in their presence. And I had that awareness because I have to give all acknowledgement to the one who created me. When I spend time being still every day and practice that presence as much as possible, the presence of God and of wisdom, it gives you this gift of awareness. When I don't practice it, I'm not as aware, I'm not as conscious, I'm not as present. So it's a gift of clarity. Well, I had this awareness when this person was so frustrated and angry. You know that energy, bad energy around you? I'm sure you get people who get frustrated around you, either frustrated at you because you're not doing what they want you to do, or frustrated about something that's not working, a computer or whatever. And there's part of me, it's like you said, Nadine, part of me that wanted to say lots of things and I wanted to react. Now, this is a turning point. If I had reacted, I get in on the game. You know what I mean by that? I get into the frustration. I get into the negative energy, their negative energy. And I'm not criticizing or judge them. I've done most of it myself. But I'm saying when I react, I lose the spirit of self-control, which is the Holy Spirit, which is the spirit of truth and life that wants to turn that awkward, difficult, challenging situation into something good. So if I react, I'm reacting out of my humanity, and I understand you want to react. So in this particular case, I just said, just take over. So I didn't say anything. I just stepped back. And there are some times when I just say to the person, doesn't matter who it is, now depending on how angry they are or how frustrated they are, oh look, I hear that I play back how I think they feel. Look, I hear, but you have to be careful you're not patronizing. Because I've had people say to me, oh, don't do that on me, because they think I'm helping them. Whereas in fact, I really just want to hear them. So more often than not, I'm just silent. And I just say a little silent prayer for them. And I ask the presence of love to stand between me and them so I don't take on their stuff. It's not your stuff. It wasn't my stuff. It was their stuff. And I'm sure if I'm talking to a lot of people get fed up with it. Do you get fed up? When you get fed up and you get over it and you've put up with it and whatever it is in your life that goes on and on with somebody, repeating themselves, getting repeatedly frustrated either at you or about some situation, or something. Anyway, they've got bad energy around you. If you can't, if you find it difficult not to react, take yourself aside. This is the turning point. This is self-control, the spirit of self-control. Take yourself aside. This is honoring your own self, to give yourself a voice and ask the wonderful counsel who lives in you, because if we wouldn't be breathing if we didn't have the spirit of life within us, as you all know. And just say to him, okay, so what would I like to do to the person? I'd like to get them and give them a good shake. I'd like to scream at them. I'd like to yell at them and get it up and get it out. Do not suppress it because you will become depressed. Okay, do not depress yourself. Listen to that aspect of you because we're made up of different parts, many parts, because of surviving life and all sorts of things. So when you do that, you'll find you'll go usually you won't get frustrated with their frustration. You won't do the same thing as them. You will actually take on when you empty. Now, show me how to see them. It's called the three-way perspective. How do you want me to see them? Because right now I just don't want to be near them. Right now, how would you see? What would you have me do? And you can just use the words, this is a turning point of all turning points. Whatever it is with another person and in a relationship, take over. Spirit of life. Take over. Spirit of life. In other words, you're giving the spirit within you the ability to take over. Like one day I wanted to kill somebody, honest to God. I was that close to spewing over them because of the circumstances and what they were like, and saying, so I would have destroyed them. And I've shared this many times because it was such a profound moment. And I didn't know much then on how to deal with my feelings, etc. But I said, take over. That's a turning point. Awareness is that you're aware is a turning point. Another turning point is that you're conscious that you have a choice. You have a choice to either react or respond. And the next choice is you have that ability. Well, in this moment, I think it was a grace, an absolute grace. I just said, take over. And I became like a dove listening to this person I was going to kill verbally. I became like a dove and listened to them for ages. And we had the most amazing time together. Later, I said to the spirit, I said, so what happened to with all my frustration and my anger? Where did it go to? But he just calmed my farm. Like today, as we listened to the scripture, it was about the seas being turbulent. But Jesus said, look at me. And he wants to calm, he calmed the turbulent sea within me. That was a turning point. That was instantaneous. So that sometimes you have to go aside and deal with the other, as I said before. So the thing that's come to me powerfully about today, I feel quite emotional about it really. And this on one level, and so do I. But on another level, it was very deep. And that is when we say to our Father, let it be done on earth, listen to this, really hear this, as it is in heaven. He wants heaven to be on earth now. He is in everything, as you know. If you really contemplate that, he's in every one of us now. He's in everything that is created. He wants heaven here now. The resurrection begins when you have a turning point. Those little turning points when you choose to ask the Spirit to take over. That's a little moment of resurrection in you and more of the Spirit living in you rather than the negativity and the wanting to react. Do you get that? You can add a little. So my life has changed so dramatically from my reacting from childhood hurts, very deep hurts of not being wanted, abandoned, and all that sort of stuff. Those feelings and terribly alone. But having to ultimately have someone help me go through that with the wonderful counselor, and where he took me into that dark space. And in that dark space, I was able to, with his guidance, hear the child within. You don't ignore and you don't push the child away or that part of you. You listen to that part of you with love. That's a major turning point when you when you give up ignoring parts of you that feel frustrated, angry, hateful, jealous, resentful. They're weeds in your garden and they're preventing you experiencing heaven within. And when you have it within more and God more within rather than that abandonment and aloneness, etc., and all the stuff that builds on top of that, then you have a bit of heaven within you now. You have more of the presence of life and love. Now you can feel that presence. That's you've got a tiny touch of it with the body, mind, heart, and spirit. But for that deeper sense, when you have a part of you that's triggered, and I used to be the queen of being triggered off by people saying something and feeling such deep hurt. The turning point when I was actually stopped and was willing to face it and under the guidance of the Spirit of wisdom and love, the Holy Spirit, listen with someone's help, listen to that child within me. It was so early, but I had a sense of the feelings. I had a sense of the feelings led to what I believed. I didn't have a right to be here, or I didn't have a right to have a voice. And listen to me now, I'm talking. Didn't have a right to have a voice. And I covered that all over. I pushed that away, but it kept on getting stomped on and triggered off, which was causing me to about face and turn around. It was a turning point. I turned around to the one who was present within me and with me always and with you, the wonderful counselor, and allowed the wonderful, gentle counselor to take me only and to look at this and to listen to this aspect of me. And I encountered light in the darkness, and the presence just radiated that whole memory. I have never, ever, ever, ever felt that triggered off, and I had it for years and years and years, this terrible emotional pain, this terrible trigger that one minute I'd be right and the next minute I want to burst into tears. I don't know whether you ever felt like that, or you might just have it to some point. It's unresolved memories, which is what we've been working in for over 26 years under the guidance of the wonderful counselor, always allowing him to bring up what's appropriate. But you know, it comes down to this, so that you can have heaven inside of you and heaven on earth now, because my life has changed externally. As you change within, this is another turning point. As you change within, and those parts of you that can't move forward or procrastinate, those parts of you that you need to listen to, the wonderful counselor, those parts of you that won't move forward. There's different aspects of us, often related to unresolved memories. It doesn't have to be big. The Spirit knows everything. He's in you, He sees you, and He just wants you to listen with Him and listen to His perspective, His truth, and the truth sets you free, as you know. Then you have more light in you. Then you have greater clarity, greater awareness. You have the power not to react, but to respond under the guidance of wisdom and love. Another turning point is when something dramatic like cancer happens to people. I was with somebody this week, and she was with the dragon boats, and she was involved with a whole group of women who had fought breast cancer or were fighting breast cancer. And they used to go off in dragon boats together because they were all doing the journey together. So another turning point is finding a space with a group that can hear you, or with somebody that can hear you, somebody that understands and doesn't try to make it all right or try to fix you up, but just is present to you. But first of all, you need to be present to yourself, and particularly those parts that are still the little child within, the parts of you that are still vulnerable, that we don't want to, but the Spirit just wants to come into that. So there's more of you present, more of Him in you, more of heaven on earth in you. Anyway, those dragon boat women, she said to me, there was a moment where they just, they hit the drums, or we all hit the drums in unison. And it was, I've got goosebumps as I talk about it. And she found this community where they were in unity and they hit the drums together because together they were journeying. And then they just all reached over from one boat to the other, joining hands because they were united together through their suffering. That's a turning point. Some of them have passed on, but probably in heaven. But I do believe we can have heaven on earth despite what's happening in the world. And unfortunately, things I had to break down before I had to break through. And I was, in the end, got excited about whenever I used to get upset because I used to think, well, okay, there's some more to be done here. There's fertilizer here. There's more hurt and pain and darkness and manure that can be turned into fertilizer. I can learn from this. I can grow from this rather than denial. And the other thing is about relationships. This is a bit of heaven on earth because there's not many people that you may have already discovered. Certainly I have. And I tend to, because my mum closed off from her emotions because of all the drama she had. And she just said, I just one day decided never to cry again. And she used to tell me I was too emotional. Why am I doing this? Because, I had so much I needed to resolve, and so much of it's been resolved. But I now know what to do with it all. And that's why I'm sharing it. That's why I do this as a voluntary capacity. And that's why we set up this organization for anybody, for any background. Okay, another tip, turning point. Do you ever feel heavy, burdened? Like you can feel the heaviness in your body. It's because usually, and I don't know the individuals, obviously, it's often because we carry. We either carry the responsibility for someone else or some circumstances, but we're doing it in our own strength. And it becomes heavy because we can't change anyone else. We can only love them. I remember asking God, what do I do with this person? I'll just call him Tim. I got straight back in my mind, just love him. But of course, I can't love him without the love that's within me flowing. I need to be a conduit of that love. I can't do it in my own humanity. I need his capacity of unconditional love, agape encounter. That's what it is, encountering unconditional love. But when you carry, you don't actually help the other person. When you carry the other person and you often then go on to try to fix them, you can actually make them feel like they can't do it. They can't fix it themselves. You can actually make them feel like they're not good enough. Then they lean into you and they lean on you, and that's no good for them or for you. It's about enabling people and helping them to grow. I just had an insect in front of me then. So you don't carry others, you care for them by listening to them. But this is a big turning point. How can you listen to them and be present to them if you're not listening to yourself and you're not giving yourself a voice, particularly when you struggle? Particularly when you're challenged, particularly when you can't go forward. Listen to that part of you that can't go forward. We'll have a meditation in a moment that will help. Listen to that part of you that gets hurt, the child within. Just as you would with a little child who, if someone ran in, my grandchild ran in and was bursting into tears and was upset because of something, what would I do? I'd listen with love. I don't need to fix it. I just need to invite silently the spirit of life to be present. To invite the spirit of life into those aspects of you. Because if you're anything like me, one of the things I had to have a big turning point in was to learn to give up the roles. I'd taken on these roles to become responsible for everybody else. Talk about carry. I learned all about being heavy. I took on the role of being in control, in control of my emotions, in control of all my hurt, in control of, and then of course I would burst out when triggered and I'd lose control and then I'd feel bad and guilty and responsible. I'd just go round and round in circles because I hadn't dealt with my inner hurt. So this is not about dealing just with your hurt. It's ultimately about encountering the presence of peace. You're living in the world, but not of the world. All the people that used to go at me, like a dog goes, "Ah," and they grab you. I used to have lots of people who used to do that to me, but the way they speak at me and all of this, and yes, I would crumble. I just think, what is it? Have I got a sign? And I did have a sign up. It was a sign that their spirit could see that I was vulnerable within. When that was, I'd come to peace, they all became very friendly and respectful. They completely changed as a result of me changing. How's that? That's a turning point. I reckon that's the greatest turning point of all. But if you're with people that are not good for you and are not, I mean, obviously, if you're in a long-term relationship and you're committed, do what you can to work with that person from the point of view, all the things I've suggested, and pray for them. But don't associate with people that are loud and negative and angry constantly all the time. You'll actually start to feel like them. You'll start to get changed. Whoever you spend time with, you begin to become like. So just be mindful of that as well. I actually think I've said enough. I've got little notes. I've been collecting all sorts of little gems for you, but I think that's enough. If I give you too much, it's too much. I'm just going to stop for a moment and ask the spirit who's within you. Remember, the spirit has heaven within you, and that heaven just wants to grow that light, that presence within you, and then shine out through you as a conduit. You don't have, you just have to allow. And then everything starts to come in line, everything starts to change, flow. Does that mean the wider world flows? No, but that needs to break down for a breakthrough as well, just like I had to. I'm going to ask you a question before I close. I just want you to be still for a moment. And I'm going to ask the spirit who has heaven within you, who is light and truth and unconditional love, to show you right now what is it, the one thing that I've shared today that speaks to you, that you can have a turning point in. Just listen for a moment. And when that one thing comes to you, for a continuing turning point, say yes. I'm willing to allow your capacity to flow through me, your capacity to heal me, to move through me, to do what I can't do. And that's letting go of control to some degree. I'm willing for you to take over. Make that commitment to the Spirit of Light because He wants you to experience heaven on earth as it is in heaven, that it be done on earth, and for you to see the changes that begin to happen externally, the different type of person you attract, the way people don't get to you anymore. It's so, the truth sets you free. So now I can't change you, but what I can do is ask you to listen to the meditation that is going to follow from this, particularly those listening to this on YouTube. So I'll just close this for the moment and then we'll go on to the meditation where you will have time then to allow the spirit who lives within you to bring up the very thing that you need to have a turning point in and to look at it, to really explore it. And it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good because it's all the stuff that's unresolved. It's the weeds. We want to chuck the weeds out. But what happens here is the weeds dissolve in the presence of light and truth. Thank you for listening.